Audio Jungle.
Soldiers of the armed forces eliminated more than 1,300 invaders, 71 UAVs and 34 artillery systems in a day. During the past day, October 21st, the Russian Army of Occupation lost 1,350 soldiers in the war in Ukraine. Defense forces destroyed 71 drones and 34 artillery systems. This is reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The total combat losses of the enemy from 24.02.22 to 22.10.24 approximately amounted to: personnel, about 681,580, plus 1,350 people. Tanks 9,079 plus 8 units. Armored combat vehicles 18,199 plus 24 units. Artillery systems 19,623 plus 34 units. RSZV 1,234 plus 2 units. Air defense equipment 981 plus 2 units. Aircraft 369 units. Helicopters 329 units. UAVs of the operational tactical level 17,404 plus 71 units. Cruise missiles 2,624 units. Ships 28 units. Submarines 1 unit. Automotive equipment and tank trucks 27,111 plus 77 units. Special equipment 3,499 plus 20 units. The data is being verified. We will remind that on the morning of October 21st, the Russian occupiers hit Zaporizhia with ballistic missiles. On October 21st, the Russian occupiers attacked Odessa with missiles and attack drones. Almost 24 residential buildings in the Oleksandrivsky, Kortitsky and Shevchenkovsky districts of Zaporizhia were damaged by an enemy airstrike on October 19. 10 people were injured. Earlier, on the night of October 19, the Russian invaders launched new attacks on Ukraine, but our air defense forces successfully repelled the attacks, destroying 42 drones and 4 guided missiles. The occupiers dropped almost 70 anti-tank missiles on Kherson. The General Staff reported on the situation at the front. During the past day, 134 combat clashes took place at the front, and the fiercest battles continued in the Pokrovsky and Kharkiv directions. In the Kursk region, the occupiers shelled populated areas 260 times and dropped 68 guided aerial bombs. This is reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces. The situation at the front remains difficult. The enemy, using its advantage in manpower and equipment, is constantly attacking our positions. Ukrainian defenders are steadfastly holding back the onslaught of the invaders, inflicting maximum losses on the enemy, the General Staff reported. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russian invaders continued their assaults. In total there were 3 combat clashes in the areas of the settlements of Liptsy and Vovchansk, and in Kupiansk 5 enemy attacks took place in a day. There, the defense forces repelled enemy assaults near Petropavlivka, Zeleny Gay, Vaishnovoy and Lozova. In the Lymansky direction, the invaders attacked 14 times, trying to advance near Grakivka, Novomikhailivka, Makivka, Torsky, and Ternov, and in Siversky, they attacked 3 times, in particular the settlements of Verkhnyokamyansk, Parayansk, and Bilogorivka. With the support of aviation in the Kramatorsk direction, the occupiers attacked Chasiv Yar. The situation is under the control of units of the defense forces. In the direction of Teresk, the enemy launched 3 attacks near Teresk and Sherbanivka. In the Pokrovsky direction, our defenders repelled 46 offensive and assault actions of the occupiers near Suka Balka, Vozdvizhenka, Myrolubivka, Krasny Yar, Promeny, Lysivka, Krutoy Yar, Selidovoy and Mikhailivka. The enemy actively used aviation. In the Kharkiv direction, it was possible to repulse 26 attacks in the districts of Hernik, Novodmitrivka, Maximilianivka, Georgievka, Dolny, Katerinivka, Zoryany. In the occupied Luhansk, men are disappearing en masse in the military unit. In one of the military units based in the temporarily occupied Luhansk, men disappear en masse a few days after their arrival. This was reported by the head of the Luhansk OVA, Artem Lysagor. We are talking about the 123rd Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade of the Order of Valor, named after the hero of the Soviet Union Kliment Voroshilov. Previously, it was called the 2nd Brigade of the People's Militia of the LPR. According to OVA, contact with new recruits is lost in an average of 2 to 3 days, i.e. after the first combat mission. Family members are not given any information on this matter. Many do not even have a message about the death or disappearance of this or that Russian militant. Recently, in the temporarily occupied Melitopol, Ukrainian undergrounds blew up a car with 3 Russian invaders. On April 16, a so-called deputy of local authorities from the United Russia Party was blown up in the temporarily occupied territory of Zaporizhia region. On May 5, someone blew up a local collaborator in the temporarily occupied Berdyansk, and he died of his injuries. A resident of the suburbs of Kherson was injured due to an attack by a Russian drone. Around 4 a.m., the Russian terrorist army attacked Antonivka near Kherson with a drone. One woman was injured. The Kherson Regional Military Administration reported this in Telegram. A 74-year-old local woman who was hit by a Russian drone was sent to the hospital in a moderate condition. She was diagnosed with an explosive injury, shrapnel wounds to the leg and torso, informed the OVA. We will remind that 24 settlements of the Kherson region were damaged due to shelling by the occupiers. As a result of Russian aggression, 9 people were injured. Ukrainian air defenses destroyed 42 of 60 Russian drones, including the Shahed type, with which Russia attacked Ukraine on the night of October 22. During the past day, October 21, the Russian Army of Occupation lost 1,350 soldiers in the war in Ukraine. Defense forces destroyed 71 drones and 34 artillery systems. The occupiers shelled Donetsk region 14 times a day, and there are dead and wounded. Russian invaders shelled Donetsk region 14 times during the day. As a result of the shelling, 4 people died, 5 more were injured. This was announced by the head of Donetsk OVA, Vadim Filishkin. On October 21, the Russians killed 4 residents of Donetsk region, 2 in Mirnograd, 1 in Kurakovo and Novokranets. Another 5 people in the region were injured during the day, the message reads. Filishkin also reported on the operational situation in the region as of the morning of October 22. In the Volnova district, 1 person was injured in the Epiphany of the Yugoldar community. In Pokrovsky district, 1 person died and 1 person was injured in Kurakovo. There, a 5-story building, an administration building, and businesses were damaged. In Yantarny 1 person died and 1 was injured, 9 houses were damaged. In Hernik, 3 high-rise buildings were damaged as a result of shelling, and in Dalny, a private house. In Mirnograd 2 dead and 1 injured, 15 high-rise buildings, 14 utility buildings, 2 garages, a shop and a trade pavilion were damaged there. In Pokrovsk, the occupiers damaged an enterprise, and in Novokranetsy of the Dobropol community, 1 person died and 1 was injured. A private house was damaged in Kostyantynivka, Kramatorsk district. 4 houses, 2 administrative buildings and a non-residential building were damaged in Mykolaievka. In Bakhmut district, 10 private houses, 2 high-rise buildings and 2 industrial buildings were damaged in Chasovoyarsk TG, and 2 people died in Teresk. During the past day, October 21, the Russian Army of Occupation lost 1,350 soldiers in the war in Ukraine. Defense forces destroyed 71 drones and 34 artillery systems. We will remind that on the morning of October 21, the Russian occupiers hit Zaporizhia with ballistic missiles. On October 21, the Russian occupiers attacked Odessa with missiles and attack drones. Almost 24 residential buildings in the Oleksandrivsky, Kortitsky and Shevchenkovsky districts of Zaporizhia were damaged by an enemy airstrike on October 19. 10 people were injured. Earlier, on the night of October 19, the Russian invaders launched new attacks on Ukraine, but our air defense forces successfully repelled the attacks, destroying 42 drones and 4 guided missiles. In Zaporizhia, 93 houses were damaged due to yesterday's rocket attack. In Zaporizhia, the liquidation of the consequences of a rocket attack, which the enemy inflicted on the morning of October 21, is ongoing. It is known about 93 damaged houses. Regina Karchenko, secretary of the Zaporizhia City Council, reported this in Telegram. The liquidation of the consequences of yesterday's attack on Zaporizhia continues. According to updated data, 21 high-rise buildings and 72 private homes in the Kommunarsky district of the city were damaged, she said. We will remind that the Russian invaders shelled Donetsk region 14 times during the day. As a result of the shelling, 4 people died, 5 more were injured. On the morning of October 21, the Russian invaders hit Zaporozhye with ballistic missiles. On October 21, the Russian occupiers attacked Odessa with missiles and attack drones. Zelensky assessed the danger of North Korean troops entering the war. In Russia, there are difficulties with the use of North Korean troops at the front. President Volodymyr Zelensky said this at a meeting with journalists. According to him, Ukraine recorded the presence of officers and technical personnel from the DPRK in the temporarily occupied territories. Presumably, they were sent earlier to prepare for the dispatch of the contingent. But it will not be easy for them. How to manage them, how to command them. I mean, the language of communication. I think these are serious difficulties, Zelensky said. When asked whether Ukraine's interaction with South Korea has changed, the president replied that, there is normal dialogue and support, however, South Korea has restrictions on the transfer of military aid. We previously wrote that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of South Korea summoned the Russian ambassador in Seoul to express a protest about North Korea sending its soldiers to wage Russia's war against Ukraine. We will also remind that South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol discussed with NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte the issue of sending North Korean troops to Russia to participate in the war against Ukraine. In Chasivoy Yar, the occupiers wedged themselves into the defense line, but the armed forces of Ukraine control the situation. Fierce fighting continues near the town of Chasiv Yar in Donetsk region. The Russian occupying forces managed to wedge themselves into the defense line of the Ukrainian troops, but there is no question of the loss of the settlement. This was told by a representative of the press service of the 24th Separate Mechanized Brigade named after King Danila Ivan Petrichak on the air of the telethon, Edini Noviny. According to him, the situation in the area of Chasivoy Yar has been tense for the past month. So far, the fighters of the 24th OMBR have directed their forces to destroy the occupiers in the canal neighborhood. There was not a single day when the occupiers did not try to storm. The sun is shining during the day, it is raining at night and in the evening, so there was heavy fog, and the occupiers once again used the change in weather to their advantage to cross the canal, Petrichak said. He added that the infantry forces of the Russians are superior, at times. Petrichak also emphasized the daily airstrikes and hail shelling. The enemy's tactics remain unchanged. The situation is very difficult, but under control, the press service representative emphasized. We will remind, before that, the deputy of the Druzhkiv City Council, Mykola Binya, stated on the air of the Espresso TV channel that Russian troops allegedly broke through near Chasivoy Yar. We will remind that the Russian invaders shelled Donetsk region 14 times during October 21. As a result of the shelling, 4 people died, 5 more were injured. In one of the military units based in the temporarily occupied Luhansk, men disappear en masse a few days after their arrival. During the past day, 134 combat clashes took place at the front. The fiercest battles continued in the Pokrovsky and Kharkiv directions. In the Kursk region, the occupiers shelled populated areas 260 times and dropped 68 guided aerial bombs. In Kramatorsk, the car of the head of combat training of the armed forces was blown up. In Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, the car of the head of combat training of the armed forces was blown up. The soldier was hospitalized in serious condition. This was reported to RBC Ukraine by its own sources. According to the information of the interlocutors, a powerful explosion thundered today at 9:30. According to preliminary data, unknown persons planted an explosive device under a Mercedes-Benz ML company car. The explosive detonated at the moment when the car started moving. The driver is in serious condition, he was taken to the hospital. We would like to remind you that near Chasivoy Yar in Donetsk region, fierce battles are ongoing. The Russian occupying forces managed to wedge themselves into the defense line of the Ukrainian troops, but there is no question of the loss of the settlement. Russian invaders shelled Donetsk region 14 times on October 21. As a result of the shelling, 4 people died, 5 more were injured. In one of the military units based in the temporarily occupied Luhansk, men disappear en masse a few days after their arrival. During the past day, 134 combat clashes took place at the front. The fiercest battles continued in the Pokrovsky and Kharkiv directions. In the Kursk region, the occupiers shelled populated areas 260 times and dropped 68 guided aerial bombs. In Mirnograd, the occupiers hit a high-rise building with a guided aerial bomb. One person was killed. Russian invaders targeted a high-rise building in Mirnograd with a guided aerial bomb. As a result of the attack, one person was killed and another was injured. This was announced by the head of the regional military administration, Vadim Filishkin, in Telegram. This morning, the Russians dropped a Cab 250 on the city, aiming at a 5-story building. 7 buildings were damaged to varying degrees, he wrote. Currently, the search and rescue operation has been temporarily suspended due to the threatening security situation, added Filishkin. According to the local authorities, during the previous day in Mirnograd 2 people were killed and another was injured due to Russian attacks. Russian invaders are constantly attacking Donetsk region with various types of weapons, attack UAVs, missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, and anti-aircraft missiles. Russian invaders shelled Donetsk region 14 times during the day. As a result of the shelling, 4 people died, 5 more were injured. And in Zaporizhia, the liquidation of the consequences of a rocket attack, which the enemy inflicted on the morning of October 21, continues. It is known about 93 damaged houses. Not a single Russian ship remains in the oil harbor of Sevastopol. There is not a single ship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet in the oil harbor of temporarily occupied Sevastopol. They were hidden from the strikes of the armed forces. This was reported by the Telegram channel, Crimean Wind. There is not a single ship in the oil harbor of Sevastopol, and the docks of the ship repair enterprise are empty, the report says. It is noted that usually at least one ship, which remained in Sevastopol, is stationed in the Naftova harbor during the day. Late at night, under the cover of darkness, the Russian military rearranges the ships to protect them from the strikes of the armed forces. There are also no ships under repair in the docks of the 13th Ship Repair Plant of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation. There is nothing to repair, most of the ships have been transferred to Novorossiysk, the Telegram channel informs. Naftova Buda Grafska Buda is located on the northern side of the Sevastopol Bay, within the Nakimovsky district of Sevastopol, near Inkerman. Small amphibious boats transport cargo through the Sevastopol Bay. Earlier, Russia admitted that the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation was forced to leave the temporarily occupied Crimea due to attacks by Ukrainian naval drones. Ukraine sank or disabled a third of all Russian warships in the Black Sea. This dealt a severe blow to Moscow's military potential. Among the latest losses of the Russian Federation, naval drones of the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine shot down the large Russian amphibious assault ship, Cesar Kunikov, in the Black Sea. Ukrainian defenders also blew up the large Russian amphibious assault ship, Novokirkazk, in occupied Feodosia. Fires were extinguished in Sumy after the Russian attack. In Sumy, rescuers extinguished several fires that arose due to the nighttime massive shelling of fire stations. According to the State Emergency Service, private homes were on fire, and an apartment building was damaged. Rescuers retrieved the bodies of 3 people, including 1 child, from under the rubble. 1 citizen was injured. We will remind, on the night of October 22, the occupiers carried out an air attack on the city of Sumy. In Zaporizhia, the liquidation of the consequences of a rocket attack, which the enemy inflicted on the morning of October 21, is ongoing. It is known about 93 damaged houses.